Professor Appiagyei has to take leave of us, and we want to hear him on the subject to which we are going to now before he can take leave of us. I have several comments on the question of dual citizenship and the allegiance question, some from very prominent citizens that I'll share with you. So don't go anywhere, just hang in there. Now, Professor Appiagyei, the President Mahama in his campaign spoke, he was very clear about it. We'll share the video shortly, that they will give jobs in the security to party people. The NPP's response is that, yes, we do this, but we do it quietly. You don't have to say it publicly. And I'll share also a reaction from the NPP's communications director, and you know that it's not me saying, but this is a clear admission. In fact, you can't run away from it. The commission, Ayawaso West Wuogon, had issue with this situation and cautioned against it. It said that party faithful are resettled through the national security establishment. Their mere presence encourages opposition parties to counter their activities. National security agencies should be non-partisan and founded on an object's loyalty to the state. Partisan appointments into national security violates Section 15 of the Security and Intelligence Act, Act 526. Partisan appointments affect confidence in the security agencies. What do you make of this situation, and what should be done about it, Prof?
Thank you, Samson. This is a very worrying situation because we are jeopardizing the security of the state, and we are redefining national security to mean regime security. That is how I'll simply put it. And we also look at it from not as a security, just as a security issue, but as a securitization issue, where the political power imagines an existential threat and therefore uses the security apparatus to quell the situation or to justify why more money and more resources should go into security issues. And this extends to who should go into the security apparatus, that is party apparatchik and foot soldiers and so on. So it is a worrying trend because national security is something that should be based on professionalism, should be based on people who have the competence and the qualification. Imagine the Ayawaso Wuogon situation where somebody has had 2 weeks of security training and he became part of the national security apparatus. And so it's interesting that NPP is saying we all do it, but we do it in secret. It is something that we need to all pay serious attention to, so that it's a question of national security, not regime security. And what Mahama said is condemnable, and what the NPP also said is condemnable. For example, I heard that the Delta Force and other elements in the NPP have been incorporated into...
It was a promise that was made to them. And when there was a delay in fulfilling the promise of sort of integrating them, so to speak, for want of a better word, we saw what they did. When appointments were made that were made outside of their membership, they went, and brutalized, humiliated the individual involved in Kumasi. And we saw what happened even in a courtroom in Ghana.
Yeah. So that's what the NPP, the NDC is now saying, that we will do political equalization, and they are saying it openly. And so it tells you about what goes on behind the scenes, which is now coming out, whether it's confession time or something. But to me, I think former President Mahama knows what he's saying. He's appealing to the base of the party to tell them that you vote for me, this is what I'm going to do for you. And so clearly, it is not a good sign. And I think we also need to look at it from how governments in power cozy it up with the soldiers and other security agencies. It all boils down to the fact that they'll be able to penetrate these agencies and brought in their people in there. So even when they do something wrong, referring to Ashama as a more recent incident, they are not ready to apply the whip and to ensure that discipline is maintained in the force. And that is a warning sign, because the security agencies are a critical component of our democratic system. They are able to check the excesses that governments make, so that they will protect the security of the state as a whole and protect our democracy. But if they're infiltrated and compromised, then there's another basis to worry about a key important element of ensuring the stability of our democracy being eroded.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Professor Kojo Appiagyei, Associate Professor at the University of Ghana School of Law. We still have Dr. Asa Asante with us, and Professor Kweku Asare also on the line to help us to determine what ought to be done. So I'm asking the question to myself. Prof just said a while ago, this is what they do and it's condemnable. What they are saying is condemnable. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Are we saying we are okay with them if they hide and do it secretly? We certainly cannot be.
Certainly, we cannot endorse that. That position was actually wrong. And it's not the first time. It's gradually becoming a feature in Ghanaian politics. And it has all its effect on the political stability of this country. Let me take you a little back to history. These practices have found expressions in two ways. Sometimes they play the ethnic card within the security services, putting certain ethnic groups in there, or they make it also taking party people in. The history of it could be traced to long to Nkrumah's era, where Nkrumah was accused of having surrounded himself with his Nzima people, as security capus, Ambrose, Derry, and the rest of them. They accused Kwame Nkrumah of having surrounded himself with a lot of security people who belong to the Nzima ethnic group. Rawlings' time, similar allegations were made against Rawlings that within the army, they've had a lot of people from a certain ethnic group, particularly Ewe, to the extent that the late MP, my late MP, Ejarikwe Labi, in the year 2000, filed a motion in Parliament that the way they were enlisting people into the army was based on a certain trend which was not reflective of regional balance. Even though that motion was defeated, but brought to the fore that problem that really exists within the political space. Kufuor's time, such allegations were made, and Nana Akufo-Addo's time, we have seen this. If you look at these things within the body politics, right, one of the things that have brought these things sharply to sharp focus is the issue of law and ethics, right? If you want to really put people into the security service, it's nothing but meritocracy and merit. People go in there because they qualify. They have the professional qualification, they have the competence, they have the experience and what have you. Any other consideration is no. But here you are. You see party people pushing their men in there. And the reason why they do this is, one, for political expediency, that they can make use of them anytime they need them to create all manner of problems for the society, and also to satisfy their paymasters and the rest of them. More often than not, they use them also to terrorize society, abuse society, And these things, if it's not checked, is going to create all manner of problems. The dangers.
So, I'm going to hold on with the dangers. You come and want to outline them and ask what must be done. Even a commission's report has been ignored. And right after elections, we see what happens in this country. Is this thing really about just the security services? Don't we know in this town that it's not different for any public office? But what are we doing to the politicians? What are they doing to this country? Now, listen to the former president, what exactly he said. Then his aide, Joyce Bar Muktari, how she defended the circumstance. And Ahiagba, the NPP's communications director, how he also, what he also said about it.
Let's be very, very realistic here. We should not in any way raise the bar of National Democratic Congress. I'm sure that what we need to do is to put the NPP to the litmus test on all the key facets that they pledged to do upon assumption of office ever. You live here with me on corruption, on media freedoms or press freedom, on employment for persons of, without any discrimination, in terms of access, in terms of building a better economy, in terms of managing our health institutions, in terms of providing roads, water, electricity, all the things that you and I desire. The worst part is that same economy that is promised to better money, we have literally run aground. The country is currently bankrupt. So please, once we are in here, we know what we've gone through. We know what we have suffered. Look, I had a very, very, very interesting encounter of a young boy who gained admission into one of the uniform agencies. He was denied access largely because he was unable to prove the fact that he was a member of the New Patriotic Party.
Positioning and the posturing of saying that, something untoward has happened or something wrong has happened. And as a result of it, we are going to break the law. For me, I find that very laughable, and in building a democratic institution, we shouldn't be having this conversation. I think that the former president misspoke. If I were speaking for him, that would be my position, that he misspoke, and that is not what he intended. Try to explain and put a better spin on this, but to entrench your position to say that, yes, we say that and we mean it, I find it very disturbing. In making a proposition for a forward leadership, I think that the best posturing of the NDC and therefore the former president should be that these are things we observe to be wrong and we think that we can fix it, right? But it is not the case, in the case of police recruitment and the rest, that there is an intentional effort to recruit party people in a manner the president is suggesting in his speech.
Right. So John Mahama said, quote, "Our people, our branch executives' children, you just stand by. If we are distributing any jobs, if we are recruiting people into the police," so it starts actually with any jobs. People into the police, the army, the prison service, the fire service, and the immigration service. And guys, let's not play ostrich about this. The army, the police, prison service, fire service, immigration, national security, the parties, they just ship their guys into it every election cycle. So he says, we will recruit all of our young people too to go and work. So what did Haruna Idrisu have to say about this? He said MPP government was recruiting party supporters into the security services. Future NDC government will reverse the unlawful recruitment. So what has changed? Or two different people speaking, and we are not paying attention to the Ayawaso West Wegon, the eminent panel, Emil Short, Professor Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu. Why did we give them the job if we didn't mean to follow what they would say? Prof, what are the dangers?
The dangers are that, one, it leads to a situation where we tend to polarize the already volatile political system by putting in party apparatchiks into the security setup. We also create unnecessary tension within the country. Because sometimes when you see the activities, you and I witness the way people pounce on judges. A judge sitting doing her work, and you see groups like this pouncing, and nothing happens.
The group went to, I think, the harbor. They went to do something in Tema. Yeah. And a lawyer of such a long standing, who was then the NPP's chairman, Freddie Blay, defended them and said they were preserving public property. They went there to, on their own, drive people out of the place. And he said they were doing a job that the Constitution expects them to do, preserve public property and defend public property.
When you do things of this nature, it leads to nothing but impunity. You open the floodgate for people to commit similar or other egregious offenses, simply because those who manage the political affairs of the state will always come into their defense. And some of these things go a long way to undermine, especially the core within the army. The army work as a uniform institution where they believe in their colors, the ranks, the command model work. So any other things that deviate from this create unnecessary problem for them. One of the reasons that Afrifa and Co. leveled again, reasons that the accusation they made against Nkrumah government was some of that Nkrumah tried to CPify, that is the CPification of the Ghana army, bringing a CPP branch within the army and all that.
CPification.
Yeah, CPification. That's what Okwe described in this book. CPification of
I don't know what we can say of the current situation.
Then it's going to be MPPification of the security service. Once you have that, you divide the soldiers. You don't build a solid force that will stand and defend the country at all times.
Respect for command.
Yes. You said something, and I just want to chip in this. It also leads to some of these things. It strengthens what we call ethnic power relations within the state.
That's right.
And it goes beyond even the security services. You find it in all workplaces as a particular group of people, either from a political stock or from an ethnic group. And these things do not bode well for a democracy that has suffered a lot of injustice, a lot of problems that we are trying to nurture and protect at all times. And it also creates all manner of problems that undermine the stability of this country. Because as soon as you compromise the security of the country, you are already creating a fertile grounds for all manner of problems.
In your mind, what can we do to stop this now?
The way out, a number of suggestions that I want to make is that let us force political parties to put these things into their manifesto so that we can hold them to it. That's their policy, one way. You recall when we started experiencing this power outages and all that, the Doomsday era, groups such as AGI and Co. called, political parties, can you come over, tell us your solution to these problems and put into the manifesto quickly. It began to feature in some of the manifestos, and today we are getting...
How are you going to police that? Already, Statistical Service tells us the unemployment situation is that bad. These people are Ghanaians first off. How are you going to police the process and say this person being brought here was a foot soldier doing this and he is earning his employment into the security service on account of the political affiliation?
We don't need to break heads on these things. The army leadership they have a way of profiling everybody. They know who to select and how to select them. It's easy. If you leave them to do their work, obviously they will be able to fish out all these people and get those who are, without this coloration to be in the army.
The leaders complain only privately to some of us.
Yes.
They complain privately. They don't complain publicly.
Yes.
That the politicians are forcing these people onto them.
Yes.
And sometimes the way the promotional system, the things they are forced to do.
Yes. It's a difficult one. But the good news is that they share with some of us. So the advocacy must go on so that we strengthen their hand to do what we do. That also brings to the fore as to the appointment of the service commanders and all that. Should it be in the hands of the head of state, for instance?
Well, they need people they can be comfortable with once they come into office.
That conversation, I think we have to also bring it to the table and look at it again as to service command appointment and all that. You go to other jurisdictions, you realize that some of the security people are, appointed as like private people, and then they operate on behalf of the state. Is that something we can emulate and then practice it here? Also, one thing that we always forget, that we can say all these things, but we as citizens, when we sleep on our right to punish those who engage us in this, when we leave them like that, they will continue to do what we're doing.
And then you are punishing all of them because they are equally guilty.
Why not? Is it wrong? Is it wrong? But sometimes it becomes so difficult. But I'm saying that let us set example at least once. Once we do that, it becomes a learning curve for the rest to follow. There are a host of other things, but we believe that we should be vigilant on these things, and then so as to make sure that we can save this state. But polarization of the army or the security service in whatever form, either through ethnicity or through political party machinations and all that, will not bode well for an army that has served this country for a very long time, continue to serve us good. We don't need to compromise their standards.
Maybe is it the PPP and the other parties? They should give us reason, because these parties are all guilty.
Unfortunately,
and they will do it anyway.
Yeah. Unfortunately, none of the other small parties.
Let's hear what Professor Kokwasari has to say about it, and I'll share some of your messages also with the rest of the world shortly. And remember that your election headquarters is bringing you the continuing coverage, comprehensive, of the NDC parliamentary and presidential primaries. You don't get it as any better. Now, this show is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group, close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go. Ashasi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert and Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join. Duraplast, how you get your water matters. Remember, where Duraplast goes, water flows. And DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. Yes, Professor Kokwasari, what do you have to say about this? Particularly, how do we stop this?
Well, Samson, it comes down to the way we have accepted to do politics. The way we have accepted to do politics can only breed problems. Look, this issue is not just about the security sector. It's the politicization of the whole public service. And it's not an overnight phenomenon. This is something that has been going on for 3 decades. And it's just going to weaken our constitutional buffers. People don't trust the media, people don't trust the Electoral Commission, people don't trust the courts, and so on and so forth. Why? Well, because of the way we've done politics, because of the way we push political apparatus into these institutions. There was a time in Ghana when we really could trust our public service. So I recall people like Jeke Dakun, the Director of Public Prosecutions. Everybody knew him, and he stood for what was right. No, the Attorney General did not direct how he should do his work. There was Justice Aban, who was the Electoral Commissioner under Unigov. Achampon went to him, he said, no, I'm not going to declare results that you want, even at the risk of my own life. There was the SID, people investigating the murder of the judges against tremendous risk, but they did their job. And we have, under this Fourth Republic, weakened our public service to such an extent that we are now undermining democracy, we are undermining our national security. And if you're not careful, the consequences could be disastrous. It is time to write a Public Officers Ethics Act that define and delineate areas that politicians can go and cannot go to. I cannot understand why politicians are involved in the recruitment of people to the security service. I cannot understand why a CEO of a state-owned enterprise can come and sit on TV and do politics. It's unthinkable to me. I cannot understand why somebody who works in the media can be appointed to the board of a state-owned enterprise. These are all subtle ways of corrupting our institutions, and the end result is what we are seeing. This is a country that has become increasingly polycratic, too many people in the public sector, not on merit. It has become a country where we are basically, I would say, we are suffering from kakistocracy and even kleptocracy. And these things are not happening by chance. They are happening because of the way we do politics. You cannot, as a politician, say you are going to come in and give jobs to your tribe people. You cannot say you are going to give jobs to your religious people. But you can say openly, publicly, and nobody even says a word. When I come, I'm going to take care of my foot soldiers. How can you be running for president and going around campaigning that when you come, you take care of your foot soldiers? Are you running to be president of your party, or are you running to be president of your country? It has gotten to some stage. I used to be very, very, very active in politics. But these days, I'm even ashamed to be seen to be doing politics, because I just think the way we do politics is horribly wrong. And we got to do political party reform. We've got to do campaign finance reform. We really got to control this problem. Because if we don't do that, we are sitting on a time bomb.
Mm. So I don't know. Let me share just a few messages with you. There are some people who, a number of messages, I just boxed them together, that we should pray that this same mentality does not take over the judiciary as far as appointments there are concerned. On the dual citizenship matter, isn't it funny that under our law, a dual citizen cannot be a colonel in command of a military unit, but every one of his or her subordinates, the actually fighting men in battle, can all be dual citizens? What's wrong with us? At best, Article 94(2)(a) could not only have had naturalized citizens in mind, not natural-born Ghanaians who had subsequently acquired the citizenship of another country, because, as my good pal, Professor Asari has eloquently explained, the latter status, a birth citizen, Ghanaian, who is a dual citizen, is a status that wasn't permitted in the same original constitution in which we find Article 94(2)(a). Okay. Gifty says that, I guess the biggest problem is how people can engineer electoral victory, sometimes through monetization. I have a bit of a funny feeling about this, but I'm sure we'll get to a position that works someday. Because if people can influence elections, opening it up that way means even the people's will can be subverted through engineered victory and other things. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying. So, for example, when Matthew Opoku Prempeh showed up for the first time in Menchia, the refrain was that this was a man who was coming from abroad with money. So he could afford to buy the primaries. So people from abroad will make the money and just come and buy. Koko Nchubu is commenting about my not impounding the vehicle thing and how he feels that is deliberate on the part of the officials who do that kind of thing. Guys, it doesn't look good on you. Just stop. It's only the uniform that separates you from us. You don't know where you'll be tomorrow. Do the right thing by the citizens. And then this is from YK Ansa Yeboah. He says that, Samson, don't waste your time in this political gimmickry by dual citizenship by these NDC MPP politicians. They are doing it just for the votes. Even simple voting by Ghanaians living abroad, they won't do it since 2006. Well, so the court issued an order compelling that an order of mandamus that the EC should take a law to a CI to Parliament so that the modalities will be rolled out. After a year, when they hadn't done it, my client cited them for contempt. They came and begged, and the courts gave them 1 more year. That has not been done. Let's see what they will do subsequently. I've got a few more of your messages here, but time just ran out on us. My outfit, as always, is by Latida. By Habil Scooter. Habil Scooter. You'll find them at Ajiringano Gates. Thank you very much. Join me tomorrow, Sunday, at 2 p.m. on The Law, which is our weekly legal clinic. I'm hosting Oliver Baka-Vomawo, lawyer and researcher, and Kofi Yeboah, General Secretary of the Ghana Journalists Association, to look at press freedom versus false crimes. Thank you to our guests for your time and for helping us with the insightful discussions that we have had this morning. Dr. Kwame Asasante, Senior Lecturer, Department of Political Science and Director, Center for European Studies, University of Ghana. Dr. Kujua P.A.J. Tua, Associate Professor, School of Law, University of Ghana, Legon, and Professor Stephen Kwekuasari, University of Florida, CDD, Democracy and Development Fellow in Public Law and Justice, member of the Florida Bar. We started with Dr. Edouard Anientwi, of the former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission and convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. Thank you also very much. Kojo Yankson and the crack team join you right away to continue with the comprehensive coverage of the NDC's parliamentary and presidential primaries. Have a good afternoon.